This is the original podcast edition of The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton, now part of the complete Pirates of Wefravain series. The books are available as audiobooks, ebooks, and paperbacks. This podcast originally aired from 2010 to 2014. Stick around after the story for commentary from me, the author, more than a decade later. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers, a novel of pirates in Panamindorah. Written and narrated by Abigail Hilton. Book 4, Out of the Ashes. Warning: this novel was intended for people who shop in the grown-up section of the bookstore. If you need to ask whether you will be offended, you probably will. Episode 3. Chapter 7. Miscalculation.
Most large ships used in Wefravain are constructed in the dockyards of Merdant, with a few built on Cerne or Haplag near coastal forests. These wooden vessels are waterproofed with pitch, tar, and oil-based paints. Unfortunately, it all burns very easily. Gawain, A Guide to Wefravain.
Gerard's heart dropped into his boots. They had severely underestimated their opponent. Either the Admiral had known about the secret room, or he'd somehow guessed that the Defiance would not totally abandon the water sprite.
Perhaps he's just angry at being tricked. Perhaps he has a temper. Perhaps...
It didn't matter. Gerard thought of Marlowe and the rest in the deep hold. They probably wouldn't hear the roar of the flames, probably wouldn't smell the smoke or feel the heat until it was too late, if it wasn't already. Gerard turned to Serwyn and saw that he'd reached a similar conclusion, but with an added twist.
Was this the only way to regain your mistress's favor?
Asked the Leopon bitterly. The Shavier behind him had put an arrow to his bowstring. Gerard didn't wait to hear any more. He knew that the archer had only hesitated for fear of hitting an innocent lemur, or killing Felbane, and thereby killing all his riders. Gerard threw himself flat against Felbane's neck, a difficult position to hit a Shelt without hitting his mount, and shouted,
"Back to the water sprite! Felbane, I need you to find the safest nest box and get me in there! And I need you to outmaneuver Serwyn's Pegasus."
The Griffin responded with commendable speed. Gerard could tell he was frightened and excited. He dove almost straight down, lemurs howling all the way, and leveled out right over the water. If Gerard hadn't been a seasoned flyer, he might have thrown up. However, it was the most logical approach, using the burning water sprite to shield them from the sight and arrows of the dark wind.
Lamp oil, that's what they were smashing on deck.
There had been a couple of barrels full in the hold.
They probably spread it around below deck too, left a trail up the stairs.
He knew he was right as he got nearer. Fire billowed from several portal windows. The ship was burning inside and out. He wondered if the Defiance was tacking back in this direction in a desperate attempt to save her Shelts on the water sprite. If so, the dark wind would be squarely in her path. Everything was going wrong today.
All that's left is for the Fang to show up.
Gerard struggled out of his coat and inched forward along Felbane's neck.
Felbane, I need to put this in your beak, and you need to dip it in the sea. Get it soaking wet.
Felbane didn't answer, but he reached around and snapped the coat out of Gerard's hand, nearly nipping Gerard's arm in his excitement. Gerard could feel the heat off the ship now. Felbane was already quite low, a little awkward with the unaccustomed weight of riders.
Take your time. Don't misjudge this, or we'll all end up in the sea.
Felbane dipped his beak, managed to trail Gerard's coat in the water, and rose again with a triumphant shriek. Gerard got hit in the face by his own wet coat.
Yeah, at least we didn't lose it.
The fabric was not as saturated as he would have liked, but it would have to be enough. Gerard didn't look back to see what Serwyn was doing. He was a little surprised that they hadn't been shot at yet, but the Leopon wasn't stupid.
If I was trying to join the dark wind, I'd fly wide at the water sprite. There's no way I'd fly straight toward all that smoke and heat.
The straw of the nest boxes was on fire. Felbane flew down the line of them. Gerard didn't see any windows that weren't belching smoke, and the deck was a sheet of flame.
Everything in there can't be on fire, though. They didn't have time to be that thorough.
He decided to take a chance.
That second-to-last nest box doesn't seem to be as hot as the others. I'm going to jump in there. You circle and come back. If I wave, that's your signal to leave. Fly back to the Defiance and get every winged creature she's got to come back here. We'll need them to carry off the shelts in the hold. If I get that far. If we all make it out.
The lemurs had gone unusually quiet. One of them put his little hand in the crook of Gerard's arm from behind.
Be careful, sir. We'll get help.
Yes, help! Yes, help!
Shouted the others.
We believe you're good. Yes, good, very good. Yes, very good.
Gerard almost laughed.
Perhaps you do. You also believe that if I get off, Felbane will take you back to a friendly deck and away from all this fire.
Felbane flew past the nest box window, and Gerard jumped into a circle of flame. He landed choking, trying not to breathe the hot air full of sparks and burning straw. He stumbled forward, forcing his stinging eyes to open, and saw that he'd been right. The room beyond had a line of fire going out the door, but only the straw was actually aflame. He took off his wet coat and used it as mitts to shove the whole mass of straw out the window. Then he waved at Felbane. Gerard took a few precious moments to beat out the fire in the room. He would shut the door on his way out. Fortunately, the handle was flat, made for a beast to manipulate. It would also be easy to manipulate with makeshift mitts. Gerard's coat was already beginning to dry when he put it back on. He forced himself forward at a run. The corridor was smoky, but tolerable. He could hear the roar of the burning ship above, the sails, tar, and rigging going up like corkwood, even without the assistance of lamp oil. He hadn't been in the Water Sprite since the incident with the spiders, but he vaguely remembered the layout of the ship. He held the moist fabric of his coat over his mouth as he ran down passages eerily lit by trails of flame. He went down a flight of stairs and finally reached the entrance to the deep hold. As he started down the steps, Gerard heard a crash from somewhere above.
A spar? The mainmast?
If the ship's infrastructure started to give way, he could easily be trapped here. If a falling mast or spar set her off balance, she would begin to list, might roll, and sink. Gerard tried not to think about that. The Sea-Watch sailors had sloshed lamp oil down the steps and onto the supplies around the bottom, but they hadn't gone far into the room. Gerard jumped over the side of the steps. He staggered as he hit the floor, feeling sick and dizzy. He felt a little better at the bottom of the hold. The air in the ship had been stifling, but it was cooler down here near the floor, and not so smoky.
I'm going to be all right. We'll all get out alive.
He started across the hold, and then he remembered where the secret door was located.
Halfway up the wall, Silvio stood on my shoulders to look for it.
Gerard dragged a crate into what he thought was the right place, listening to the creaking and groaning of the ship. Gerard hopped onto the box he'd positioned, but he couldn't see anything that looked like a secret door. He ran his hands over the wood. He was feeling dizzy again. He hammered on the wall and took a deep breath to shout to the shelts on the other side. The world reeled. Dimly, he felt himself falling. Then his head struck the side of the crate. Chapter 8. Rescue.
Gossamer are the smallest of the fawn species in Wefravain, imported from the lawless lands for hunting on Masia Minor. They tend toward willowy beauty, with olive skin, black hair and eyes, and extraordinarily long eyelashes. Gwain, the non-Grishnauts of Wefravain.
Gerard woke on the shores of a sea. He had sand in his hair and on his clothes. Up close, the sand seemed to have rainbows in it, as though every grain were a crystal prism. The sky looked like summer, blue and cloudless, but the air felt like spring. Beyond the beach, he saw a forest. He knew he was dreaming then, because Panamindorah never grew such trees. The trees were enormous. 10 shelts together couldn't have made a ring around those trunks, and they reached fathoms into the blue, blue sky. Gerard felt peaceful, empty, unhurried. He saw footprints on the beach, paw prints, both felid and canid, and hoof prints, both cloven and solid, little hand-like prints, and others that he didn't recognize. They all went away into the trees. Gerard looked at the forest, its enormous ferns and rich, dark earth, fabulous flowers, the smell of its life blowing to him on the breeze. And he thought about what adventures must wait in a place like that. And at the same time he thought that he could listen to such silence forever and do nothing else, and be content. He looked at the footprints and thought,
Surely some of those are Thessalon's. She must be a long way into the forest by now, but I can run faster. At least I used to be able to.
Gerard.
He turned and saw someone, perhaps some kind of Schelt. The stranger was bright as fire and hard to look at.
What are you doing here?
Gerard bowed his head.
Am I not welcome in your country, Lord?
The person reached out and touched his forehead.
You are welcome. I gave you my mark, and you have it still. But you don't belong here yet. Go back, Gerard.
Gerard! Gerard!
Silvio's voice, frantic. Gerard opened his eyes. They stung. Silvio was shouting in his head. He was tugging desperately, with one hand under each of Gerard's arms.
Gerard, I can't carry you. Please wake up, please.
Gerard tried to speak, but only succeeded in coughing.
You're alive. You're awake. Oh, thank the gods. Thank the Firebird. Thank anyone.
Silvio was crying, although it might just have been the smoke. Gerard was lying on the floor of the water sprite. He could see the stairs, and the fire had only advanced a little.
I can't have been unconscious for more than a few moments.
But they were precious moments.
Silvio, I can't find the door. I was standing on a box.
Silvio nodded.
Some of the stuff that's burning is poisonous. It's making the smoke more dangerous. It's worse nearer the ceiling. Here.
He tied something around Gerard's mouth and nose, a wet rag. Silvio himself was soaking wet.
There are barrels of drinking water over there.
Why didn't I think of that?
Gerard started to get to his feet. Silvio pulled him back down.
Decide what you're doing before you stand up. The air's better near the floor. I'll get on your shoulders and open the door. You're a little off. Move that way about 4 paces.
When Gerard had positioned himself to Silvio's satisfaction, he stood up. He lifted Silvio and swung him onto his shoulders. Gerard could hear him scrabbling at the wall.
Locked.
He started beating on it, and Gerard hammered with a fist.
Marlowe, open the door.
If they don't open soon, we're leaving.
Silvio hopped down, and they both crouched on the floor, taking deep breaths through their wet cloth masks, already drying in the hot air. Just when Gerard thought they should stand up and try again, the outline of a door creaked cautiously open. Then it was thrown wide as someone shouted,
Priestess be buggered. I told you something was wrong.
Schultz came pouring out of the secret room, jumping to the ground beside Gerard and Silvio. As Gerard had expected, the room was sealed so well that the smoke hadn't yet penetrated, but the Schultz started coughing as they leaped into the hold.
The Sea Watch poured lamp oil everywhere and set the ship on fire. Silvio says the smoke is poisonous, so stay low and try not to breathe it. Soak yourselves in one of the water barrels before you run upstairs. Try to keep some kind of wet cloth over your mouth. I asked my griffin to bring every winged creature from the Defiance to the second-to-last nest box, so that's where we have to go.
15 Schultz jumped from the secret room, all various types of fawns except Marlowe. They pried off the lids of several water barrels and took turns jumping in. Gerard joined them. Silvio dipped his handkerchief in the water, but his clothes and fur were still damp. Then they were all running for the stairs. Things had not improved in Gerard's absence. They ran through showers of sparks and licking flames, trying not to breathe, gagging when they gulped in air. Twice they came to places where the roof had caved in, but 2 of the Shavier had had the foresight to grab axes from the hold. Even so, Gerard thought that they wouldn't get through, battering desperately at half-seen obstacles amid clouds of smoke. Someone thrust a limp body into Gerard's arms, and he carried whoever it was, hoping they were still alive. Periodically, he would call to Silvio in his mind.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm right behind you. Nice place to be short. Keep going.
They couldn't have been in the passages for more than a few moments, but it seemed like years before they finally stumbled into the nest box. It was aflame too, but the middle of the floor and the area around the portal window remained intact. Gerard looked down to see his boots aflame. He stamped them out in concert with several of the fawns who were discarding or beating out their burning clothes. One person's hair was afire, but a friend threw his coat over it and smothered the flames. Gerard thought that they all behaved very well. No one panicked. Gerard would have been proud to call them his sailors. The Schultz Gerard was carrying turned out to be the little Gazumel girl from the Majan expedition. She'd inhaled too much smoke and collapsed, but she was breathing.
Thank you for carrying her,
said Marlowe.
Not a problem.
It really wasn't. She was perhaps a head taller than Silvio. Someone waved his coat madly in the portal window.
They're out there!
They're just... all right, I think they see us.
Gerard looked into the inviting blue sky and clear air beyond the burning ship. He saw several Pegasus flying towards them. He caught a brief glimpse of something else, too, high up.
A griffin? Doesn't look like Felbane. Ship scout? Could it be from the Dark Wind? But he's flying awfully high to have come from there.
He heard a sound like a tree going over, a long, terrible cracking. Then the mainmast crashed over the side of the ship. Splinters and sparks showered down around the opening of the nest box. The water sprite began to list, the portal window tilting towards the water. Finally, Gerard saw real fear on the faces of the fawns.
She's going to roll,
whispered one.
With us underneath.
But she's going slowly,
muttered Marlowe.
Steady.
A Pegasus swept through the window. It was the white one, Corin, his feathered mane standing erect in alarm.
Are you lot ready to fight? Because we need you.
Thanks,
said a fawn dryly.
That's exactly what we wanted to hear after crawling out of fiery death.
My sword got too hot. I threw it away.
Here, you can have my axe.
3 of them were already on his back and away, the Pegasus flying awkwardly because of the heavy load. Another Pegasus came through the window and picked up 3 more fawns, including the unconscious girl, and then another. And all the while the ship continued its slow death roll, the water growing closer and closer. 1 more Pegasus came, and now they were bracing themselves around the window to keep from falling out. The Pegasus had trouble getting in and was clearly frightened as it tried to balance on the window frame, while Shelt scrambled onto its back.
You go,
Marlowe told Gerard and Silvio.
He thinks this is the last chance,
thought Gerard.
We can swim if we have to.
Silvio grinned.
Someone taught me how.
Gerard smiled back, but he felt uncertain. They would have to swim fast to get away from the sinking ship. Still, he shook his head at Marlowe.
I came to get you out. It wouldn't be much of a rescue if I left you here. Come on, you're wasting time.
So 3 more Xavier climbed on, and now it was only Marlowe, 1 fawn, Gerard and Silvio, braced around the portal window, looking almost straight down into the water.
Well, that's it, I think. I don't suppose any Pegasus can come up at that angle,
said the fawn. Maybe no Pegasus could, but Felbane did, with a rush that made the Xavier gasp. Felbane stood over the portal window, with flames licking up the sides of the room in the sinking ship, and shrieked so that everyone's ears rang.
Now that, I think, is your ride,
said Marlowe.
All of our rides?
Suggested the fawn. Gerard shook his head.
He's big enough for all of us, but at this angle he won't clear the water with that much weight. You 2 go. Tie a rope to his saddle harness when you get back and send him out again. I'm used to getting on that way from the water, and I'm a strong swimmer. I'm not going to change my mind. Hurry.
Just before they jumped out the window, Gerard scooped up a surprised Silvio and shoved him between Marlowe and the fawn.
Hang on to him. I'm too much extra weight, but you aren't.
Silvio was so startled that he actually tried to speak with his mouth. All that came out was a squawk. Gerard caught a distinct impression of his pale eyes, round and frightened, but most of all angry, as Felbane dove like a swallow from the portal window. Chapter 9. Over the water and under it.
Ship's scouts, mounted on either griffins or a pegasus, can be lethal to deck-bound Shelts in a fight. However, scouts take it as their primary duty to see that their counterparts have no chance to influence the battle. They shoot and dive at each other, sometimes chasing one another well away from the ships. Gawain, a guide to Wefrevane.
Gerard kicked off his boots. He thought of discarding his sword, but...
I'm not ready to do that yet.
He took off his coat, but long months of hoarding cloth made him hesitant to discard more clothing.
I can always take it off in the water.
He jumped. The shock of cold salt water felt wonderful after the heat and smoke of the ship. Gerard felt his spirits lift as he started to swim.
I can float out here all day if I have to, if I can just get clear of the ship.
Gerard!
He looked around. A small white head was bobbing toward him.
Silvio?
Don't you dare do anything like that again.
Silvio was practically sputtering with rage.
I came out here for you, and I'm not coming back without you.
Gerard felt frustrated and annoyed.
You can't swim as fast as me, and we need to swim fast to get away from this ship.
You think I don't know that? You're the impulsive one. Give me some credit for planning.
You have another idea?
Yes, I didn't say it back there because I was afraid you'd start babbling about it out loud. You do that sometimes.
A shadow obscured the sun, and Gerard looked up to see the side of the ship leaning over them.
It's going to come right down on top of us.
Then something stirred the water at his feet, and a long, shiny black head popped into view. Gerard's mouth fell open.
You brought her?
Yes, how do you think I got here so quickly?
I thought you rode Foulbane.
But the moment it was out of his mouth, he knew that was impossible. Silvio couldn't have been far behind him going onto the ship.
I knew when I saw the fire. I knew what you'd do, and I got her to swim me here. I told you she can move. Now grab on. She's going to swim underwater.
There was no time to argue. The water sprite really was going over. Chunks of the flaming ship splashed down around them, hissing and steaming. Dakar swam beside Gerard, and he wrapped his arms around her neck. Then Silvio did the same on the other side.
You are going to be on the bottom, because the weight is easier for her that way.
What are you...
Deep breath!
Shouted Dakar as the ship dropped out of the sky. She dove. Gerard felt himself shrugged into place so violently that he almost lost his grip. Then the water was rushing at him so hard that it shot into his nose and mouth. He tucked his head and realized that he was, indeed, lying against the dragon's belly. Silvio must be between her shoulder blades. Dakar was moving in a swift, undulating motion. Gerard was so disoriented that he couldn't tell whether they were headed up, or down, or sideways. His lungs began to burn. He wondered whether Dakar would hang on to him if he passed out, or whether he would just fall away into the dark water. Then she surfaced. Gerard gagged, gasped. Silvio's arms were overtop his own. Gerard opened his eyes in the bright sunlight. To his amazement, the water sprite was already a great distance away. She was completely on her side now, the hull almost obscured by curtains of smoke and steam. Gerard turned in the other direction and saw...
Oh, mercy.
The dark wind had boarded the Defiance. There was fighting on both decks. A couple of ship scouts from the Dark Wind were fighting half a dozen Pegasus in the air over the ships.
Ready?
Asked Dakar, and they dove again. When they surfaced, they were near the side of the Defiance. At this angle, it looked like a towering, slippery wall heaving up and down in the water. Gerard saw that they had come up on the side of the ship opposite the Dark Wind. He could hear the clash and cries of fighting on the deck.
Here's where it gets tricky. Dakar and I just jumped straight into the water from a nest box, but it won't work that way coming back up.
No one saw Dakar shift.
Of course not. Here, let go for a moment. I'll show you how I got on the water sprite.
Gerard tread water, while Silvio climbed squarely on top of Dakar's shoulders and got a better grip. Then she swam furiously straight at the ship. Her leathery wings boiled out of the water, gave 2 hard beats, and she shot up and over the lip of the nest box window. Silvio's face looked down an instant later. His voice sounded faint at this distance.
Neat trick, eh? I'll get you a rope.
Gerard hardly heard the last part as he was jerked underwater. There was no warning. One moment Gerard was looking up at Silvio in the portal nest box window of the Defiance, and the next he was struggling, drowning, watching the bright mirrored surface of the ocean growing rapidly farther away. The mirror broke as something crashed down into the water and shot towards him, a blur of black tail, wings, and claws. He felt something let go of his leg, and then he was struggling upward. The water roiled around him. Gerard glimpsed the other wyvern, iridescent, blue, about twice the size of Dakar. Then he broke the surface, gasping. Dakar came up under him and lunged for the side of the ship. Gerard saw the portal window coming towards him, much too high. They were going to miss it. He leaned forward, gripping with his knees, levering himself up, reaching. He managed to get his hands over the lip as Dakar fell back into the water. Gerard struggled, bruised and panting, into the nest box window of the Defiance. Silvio had just come running back into the room, rope in hand. He sagged against the doorframe.
Gerard, I thought... Where's Dakar?
Gerard turned back to the portal window just as something else came through. The iridescent blue wyvern snarled into his face.
Gerard, back!
Gerard obeyed, just in time to avoid the portal window cover. A latch normally kept it open, but once the latch was unhooked, the door sprang shut, and Silvio hurried it on its way. The wyvern wasn't even halfway into the room, and the slamming door nearly smacked it back out. However, it managed to get 1 foot caught in the opening. The creature was very strong. Gerard and Silvio leapt forward, flinging their combined weight against the door, but the wyvern had already gotten its snout through, along with one paw, and it was squirming its way back into the room.
I know you.
It hissed.
My mistress will be oh so pleased. She'll give me an island and my own temple.
Its voice dropped to a horrible wheedle.
Gerard, she's missed you so. She might even decide not to eat you.
The thing was already halfway into the room, and Gerard realized, with a stab of panic, why it wasn't trying to kill him. It wanted to carry him off alive.
Even if we push it out the window, it'll tell Marcello where to find me.
Gerard let go of the door and drew his sword in the same movement. Silvio was jerked off his feet and smacked into the wall as the wyvern threw the door open. Gerard struck it a ringing blow across the neck as it was still trying to get its back feet into the room, but his sword only bounced off. The wyvern's head snapped around at him, and now he was in such close quarters that he couldn't even use the blade. Gerard did the only thing he could think of, what he would have done in a fight with a Schelt in similar circumstances. He hit it as hard as he could with the handle of his sword. The wyvern caught the blow on the side of its head as it was turning towards him. To Gerard's astonishment, the creature's eyes rolled back in its head, and it began to convulse, its whole body lashing like a beheaded snake. Gerard retreated to the corner of the room, where Silvio had come out from behind the door. They both stared as the wyvern's frantic thrashing escalated, then rapidly diminished to shudders, and, finally, to stillness.
I think you killed it.
I don't understand how. All I did was hit it.
You must have hit it awfully hard.
Gerard moved to the portal window and looked out. He saw no sign of Dakar.
Do you think she's hurt?
Not badly. She's really difficult to injure.
Then why isn't she here?
Silvio shrugged.
Maybe the other wyvern chased her. Gwaine Selkie said there were two. Or maybe she was hurt a little bit and went somewhere to hide for a while. I think she heals better as a wyvern. Maybe she's too weak to shift and she doesn't want to come on board in case someone saw her.
Silvio broke off.
Gerard, is that what I think it is?
Gerard raised his eyes. They were on the side of the Defiance that faced the open sea. The ship was still in the harbor's mouth, having turned back to rescue the Shelts from the water sprite. On the horizon, Gerard could see another ship. She was just close enough, and familiar enough, to identify.
The Fang.
You have been listening to The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton. Copyright Abigail Hilton. Cowry Catchers is an illustrated story with ink and watercolor artwork by Sarah Cloutier. You can view the sketch art for free on the website at cowrycatchers.com, and the episode covers provide a sneak peek at the finished artwork. If you'd like to view the complete illustrations and support the podcast, the ebook is for sale on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, Kobo, and most other ebook platforms. As of this recording, it costs $5. A big thank you in advance to those who purchase the book or review it. This podcast included the vocal talents of
Nathan Lowell
as Gerard,
Norm Sherman
as Silvio,
Chris Lester
as Gwaine,
Hughes Hilton
as Marlowe,
R.E. Chambliss
as Dakar,
Brian Lincoln
as Serwin,
Jim Keeling
as Corin,
Philippa Valentine
as Myrta,
Rish Outfield,
and
Big Anklevich
as lemurs and fawn sailors,
Chaz Blanchard
as the Firebird,
Big Anklevich
as a wyvern. Sound effects for this podcast were provided by SoundSnap, the Free Sound Project, and Sound Dogs. The intro music for this podcast was Grace by Beth Quist. The outro music is The River Between by Jamie Saber. Both were licensed with permission from Magnatune.net. Music for Book 4 of Cowry Catchers included selections from Digital Juice at digitaljuice.com and Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. It also included additional music from Beth Quist, Diana Rowan, and Jamie Saber, all from Magnatune.net. All music was licensed and used according to the terms of the websites. This is a standard copyright now. This podcast is provided for your personal enjoyment only. You can download and archive the episodes for your personal use. You may not re-upload, mirror, or publicly redistribute the audio files, nor can you alter, remix, or create derivative works. And I'm back. This is 2026 Abby, coming to you with not really many thoughts on this episode. This is the middle of an action sequence. I think it's a pretty fun action sequence. We have reversal after reversal after reversal. There's still a few twists coming. I could talk for a minute about what I was doing when I was producing this audio. This would have been during my first locums anesthesia assignment in Portland, Oregon. That's also where I trained, so I was coming back to the town that had my alma mater in it. I was coming to a highly distressed hospital that I have already described. I know I talked previously about the state of things as we were walking into that hospital where one group had angrily left and just intentionally left chaos behind them for the other group to come in to. It was a crazy environment. The hospital was staffed almost entirely with locums anesthesia people because they had just made such a mess of their local reputation. Nobody wanted to come work for them. And I met some very odd locums docs there, particularly the locums anesthesiologists. There were some very strange characters there. So I remember coming into one room to give a guy a break. And some of the docs there, nobody ever wanted to give them breaks, and I didn't know why. Well, I found out why. I discovered why. Some of them were just doing really weird things. And so this particular doc, nice fellow, definitely on the spectrum, kind of a flat affect. I think he was a smart guy. I didn't find him actually doing anything particularly weird anesthesia-wise. However, he was incredibly paranoid. And I come in to give him a break, and he shows me a syringe labeled rocuronium, which is a paralytic, and he tells me, this is fentanyl in this syringe, and this syringe over here that's labeled fentanyl is rocuronium, and this is how I've labeled them in case someone tries to steal them. And I was just like, what? That's a terrible thing to do. Why do you think we label drugs, sir? We label drugs also so that we will remember what is what, but additionally so that somebody coming in to help us in an emergency will pick up a syringe of clear fluid and know what it is. What a crazy thing to do. Frankly, I don't care if someone is stealing drugs. I'm not going to try to kill them by putting rocuronium in, because that would also kill you. Like if you injected rocuronium and you thought it was fentanyl, it would paralyze you and you would not breathe again until long after you were dead. That actually happened to a nurse in one of the Portland hospitals at that time. She was found dead in a bathroom. And what she had done was steal some of what she thought was fentanyl from a patient's bag, from an IV bag, and it turned out to be rocuronium. And that would be a horrible way to die. By the time you realized what you had injected, you would probably be too weak to call for help, and then you would be very quickly paralyzed and wide awake. You know, it's only in the movies that people can breathe while paralyzed. That's not how real life works. In real life, if you are paralyzed, your diaphragm is also paralyzed. You will suffocate if nobody is available to breathe for you. Anyway, I'm telling you horror stories, but there was a doc there that would switch labels on things because he was paranoid and thought people were stealing drugs. And who knows, maybe they were, but that, to me, that would not be a reason to mislabel medications. And there was another guy there who eventually got fired for killing someone. At least that's what another provider told me a couple years later. Just very, very old school, and would do things like do mask cases for laparoscopic cases, which Unless you're an anesthesia person or a medical person, you don't know how crazy that is. Trust me, that is not a thing that you do. He would do them by hand instead of putting these patients on the ventilator. I came in one time. He was another one that nobody would give a break to because nobody wanted to be in his room. And the reason was quite obvious once I had been in some of his rooms. Like, ugh. But I came in one time and he had the mask strapped to the face of this patient, and he had like rigged it up with a tongue depressor so that it would like stay tight over the face, and then turned on the ventilator like it was a CPAP machine. So the patient had a fully unprotected airway, and it was as though it were a mask case by hand, which the only time in modern anesthesia you mask someone by hand throughout a general anesthetic is children for ear tubes. Like that's the only routine time that is done, and it's only because it's so short. And pediatric airways can go sideways, and it's so short mostly though, so that you can quickly do that. And I can think of like strange or unusual circumstances why you might make that decision. This wasn't one of them. Anyway, the hospital was so weird. I participated in one resuscitation where every single person in the department who was in the building at the time participated in this resuscitation because it went on for hours. We gave all the platelets in the city of Portland. A memorable incident. I met a whole bunch of other locums providers and was able to pick their brain about business stuff. I did a lot of obstetrics there. I actually really liked their OB department. I learned some tips and tricks there that I used later. And I didn't see anything screwy in their OB department, frankly. And one of the perks of being there at that time and doing a lot of obstetrics in their department, which nobody else really wanted to do half the time. So one of the pluses to that was my nephew was born there at that time in that hospital. I was there when he was born. I was actually down in the main OR, which is probably just as well because I don't think my sister-in-law wanted to have, the kind of relationship with me that involves me maybe placing an epidural. Like that's, you shouldn't work on your family. So anyway, yeah, I was down in the main OR, but I got to run upstairs when he was delivered and see him within. Newt is really begging for my attention right now. He just knocked over part of the chess set. Sorry if you hear the banging. Anyway, I got to be there when Morgan was born and hold him within hours of him being born. So that was a really cool thing about being at that hospital at that point in time. And I guess I don't want to give the impression that it was a bad hospital as such. It was a pretty well-known hospital in the area for certain things, but it was in a period of extreme chaos, and I saw some weird stuff there, and I definitely worked with some weird people there. And again, it is a mark of how bad my first job was that I was coming from, that I was like, this is fine. This is great. Because they treated me well. They were respectful to me. They were not mean. They didn't find ways to gaslight me all day long. They were happy I was there and grateful. Anyway, that's what I was doing when I was producing this part of the story. And I hope you're enjoying this action sequence, and I will talk to you in the next one. This is Abigail Hilton, and you have been listening to the Pirates of Wehrvein saga. Join me on Patreon for early episodes, long-form interviews, forum access, personal updates, and lots of artwork, including maps and species charts. That's patreon.com/Abigail Hilton. If you want the whole story now with no interruptions and some remastering of the early books for sound quality, you can find the entire series at shop.abigailhilton.com, along with all my other novels. The audiobooks are delivered by BookFunnel. Background music was Hidden Sky by Jamie Sieber, licensed from Magnatune.net circa 2014. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers podcast is an audio adaptation of the Pirates of Wehrvein saga, written and produced by Abigail Hilton. Original production copyright 2010, all rights are reserved to the author.